What's going on, Pats Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Ken's Pats Talk Patriots podcast. Hope all y'all doing pretty good today. I am. Uh, been a busy day for me, but hey, man, I'm ready to talk some ball. Got a special guest tonight, Taylor Cowles. Some of you might know him. Taylor Cowles from CLNS Media for the Patriots Beat. He's a Patriots Beat reporter. He will be joining me in a few minutes coming up here. Some of y'all might know him from there. He did shows with Alex Bard, Mike Cadlick. Um, he's done a bunch of shows there. He's new to the network or whatnot. So make sure y'all give him a follow, man. Taylor Cowles. He will be joining me here pretty soon, man. He follow his tweets. Like he always talking good about the Patriots. I love his content. He knows his ball from the X and the O standpoint. He knows his stuff. So I've always admired him, and I've really been watching him a lot lately. So I really love how he talks about the game of football, not just the Patriots, but football in general. So we're going to come on tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about some offseason storylines for the Patriots, the draft, free agency. We're going to get into that. Bill O'Brien, the new offense, how that's going to look. OTAs starting tomorrow. Season, he can give us a season prediction, how you feel about the season, and then an OTA standout. We're going to touch on all of that tonight. So he's a really, really good guy. I enjoy watching his tweets, as I just said. And he knows his Patriots from X and O standpoint, man. They do a really good job over there at CLNS Media over there. He's a Patriots beat reporter. What's going on, Taylor? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Ken. First of all, thank you for your patience, for the kind introduction. You've been awesome, man. I'm so excited to be on. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, man, I got to go all out for talent, man. I see some talent in you, man. So, hey, it's a pleasure to have you on. I know it's been like pulling teeth to get you on, but hey, man, it's
This
good,
move,
man.
this move's been crazy. I had to because I went from LA, then I kind of had a little checkpoint in New York because that's where me and my girl are from, and we're finally moving to Boston on Friday. So we actually have an official move-in date. That's exciting. So there's a horizon finally. But yeah, it's been crazy. But again, you've been awesome. So thank you so much for your understanding.
Yes, sir, man. Are you in Boston right now?
Not now. So I'm literally at my girlfriend's house, like on her laptop. I'm doing the whole 9 yards.
Oh,
But
okay.
we're heading to Boston on Friday. That's when it's official.
Okay.
You know, we're settling in, and I'll be at practices the next week. So
Okay, yeah,
get
that's
to
what I
hit
was
the
about
ground
to ask
running.
you. Yeah, I was about to ask you, would you be there tomorrow? But you going you still in New York or whatnot at her house or whatnot. That's
This
good, man.
one practice, man. It's killing me that I got to miss this one. I was supposed to go to the one that got canceled. Actually, I was going to make it a little surprise for everybody.
Yeah,
Going to try
yeah,
to make that one, but yeah, it's going to be one little X on the resume. But from there, try to make up for it.
that's good, man. Hey, understand, man. Ain't nothing but a thing. Well, hey, man, let's go ahead and get into it, man.
Yes,
Off
sir.
season, it's been a little bit of crazy off season.
Mhm.
Bringing some new pieces, new coaches, new installment. We had the draft, free agency. What's your take on the off season so far? How you like it, and where you see everything going?
From a coaching perspective, I feel like that was where they made all their biggest moves. You know, Bill O'Brien obviously brings legitimacy to the offense finally. Matt Patricia, as even Robert Kraft said, was put in a really, really tough position. As easy as it is to make him the scapegoat, even Belichick said before last season started that if this experiment goes wrong, it's on me. And obviously
Mm-hmm.
the Joe Judge situation, it just didn't work out. So finally having someone like O'Brien, someone like Clem, who takes the responsibilities that Matt Patricia just couldn't handle last year and actually brings experience. You know, they bring guys that players really respect because they know they have experience in their roles. So I think that's huge, and at least gives you an offense where the defense is still going to shine. The offense is probably going to still be
Mm-hmm.
run first, where they try to control the clock, all those kinds of things that you would expect from a Mac Jones offense until he proves otherwise. But I think they have enough structure where he can actually excel, be the kind of distributor, field general that he has the potential to
Mm-hmm.
be, and then we'll kind of see what this team's truly made of. And then on defense, Devin McCourty obviously retires. That's huge. But you don't lose anybody else. You draft 3 outstanding players who I'm really excited about, and I think could actually make this defense even better rather than seeing a regression as you usually would with a defensive performance that was really one of the better ones in the league last season. I believe they were top 10 in DVOA last year. And then special teams, really excited about that. I think this is really going to be a worst to first situation where they go from a sincerely putrid unit that dealt with, injuries with Jake Bailey. It really hurt their punting situation. Obviously, Cody Davis goes down, you lose one of your best coverage guys. And there were also just players that weren't doing their jobs the way that you would like when you draw up these plays. But now you got bored. You got the young guys like Amir Speed and Isaiah Bolden kind of towards the end of the draft.
Schooler coming back.
School, I'm glad you said that. School is somebody I think has legit Pro Bowl potential. You look at my roster breakdown, he's in that tier for me because he was lighting it up last year, like outshined Matt Slater, actually. So, yeah, man, I think offense, you finally have stability. Defense, you have more talent to a unit that was already formidable last year, and special teams was awful, but they made Chris Board, of course. They make a lot of moves to address the coverage and the kicking situation by drafting a punter and a kicker. So it's for me, it's hard to really find a lot of fault with this offseason. Obviously, you don't get that true number one talent you want in the draft. I was a big Zay Flowers guy. I thought he was a lock for them in the first round, but they're happy with the pieces they've got. We'll see if it works out for them, but just coaching alone, I think they can do enough to complement what's going to be one of the best defenses in the league and a special teams unit that's going to put both sides of the ball in much better positions.
And a lot of people don't understand, like, our coaching we lost a lot of games from pure coaching last year.
Yes, sir.
I think if we had Bill O'Brien or just a good coaching staff last year, I think we win that Vikings game on Thanksgiving. I know we win the Raiders game.
Absolutely.
I think it was one more game that the Bengals game. I think we would have won. I think we would have won 2 out of those 3 games. They get you right there to about 10 wins right there. So,
absolutely. It's discipline, man. It's like when they get to the second down and 5s, they turn into second down and 10s because of a penalty, poor execution. Exactly. It's always something.
I want to talk about the last game last year between the Bills and the Patriots, week 17 or whatnot.
Yeah.
Mac Jones looked real good that game.
He did.
And the first half, I mean, what do you think was the difference in that game than was how he was playing than the rest of the season? Because he just looked like, I don't know if they just let him just go out there and just sling it or what, but I think he was like 12 for 12 at one point or something like that. Like he had a really good,
I think, and you saw spurts of it last year. Like all the games that you mentioned that were really close, the Raiders game, the Vikings game, there were drives where you saw, oh my gosh, they're actually building momentum. They're putting plays together. This looks like a real offense. And when you realize just how unstable it was behind the scenes, like how little detail there was in the game plan, so that even they were set up to, I don't want to say set up to fail, but they weren't set up to succeed optimally, which I think is more than fair to say. And then beyond that, you had a coach that couldn't make the adjustments. So when you're already in a bad place, you can't really build from that. And I think you saw Mac do what I think he's capable of doing, where no, he's not the most physically talented quarterback, but I think mentally he's a sharp dude and he understands. And when the pressure gets on him, I think you've seen it in a lot of games where when he really needs to have a drive, he's not usually the reason that they're playing poorly. Like when you think of a lot of his really bad mistakes, they're not in critical situations or times where you're like, Mac, like this is there are those in his rookie season, especially. I think you saw that where sometimes he had trouble reading underneath coverage, forced some passes. But I think you've seen a lot of glimpses of Mac being the kind of guy where when the game is in his hands, if you give him guys not even open, but if you give him opportunities, he can excel. And I think that's what you saw towards the end of the year. Like that was a win and get in kind of game. So that was really important for them to be able to actually sustain. So, yeah, I think you just saw what Mac could actually become.
How did you feel about the draft?
I was really excited about the defensive additions. First of all, I was really big on Marte Mapu, who I knew a lot of people didn't know about, but he's a really, really talented player, a coverage specialist who may not always contribute necessarily in the run game, or at least early on in his career, he might have to bulk up a little bit. He's a bigger guy, but he's also Duggar's weight, so the proportions there. You might just want to get him a little bigger to take on linemen the way that Duggar sometimes does. But the athleticism he gives you, I think he gives Duggar the ability to move around, be the kind of guy where you just put where the action is. And then Mapu can be that true coverage specialist, either next to Bentley or taking over for him, where really makes passing lanes a lot tighter because of his athleticism. Keon White is just a ball of talent, where on some teams you may be a little more skeptical of his ability to develop. But with their coaching staff, DeMarcus Covington, and how fantastic he is, the way he helped develop Josh Uche, you really start thinking, all right, as talented as this kid is, his work ethic, his mentality,
Yep.
if you teach him the tools, or if you teach him the techniques, he has the tools, you marry those, you can have a Judon-esque guy where he's a bigger body, but you could also see him dropping 20, 30 yards downfield and not looking out of place, on top of being a relentless pass rusher and someone with good upside as a run defender when he's more on the edge of the formation. And then I leave Gonzalez for last because that's pretty straightforward. He's fantastic. He's going to change the complexion of the defense.
So fluid, man. I seen a clip of him a few weeks ago. He just so fluid getting in his break. And I seen it from college, man. The guy, I think he's going to be a stud. I really hope, and I think we hit on that pick.
Yeah, and especially because of you mentioned the fluidity. Like, I keep using the word smooth. I literally had to look up a thesaurus and find just a different word to use. I felt like I just kept repeating myself, but this guy is so talented. And I know there was a lot of questions about his toughness in the Georgia game, which is the first game he even played for Oregon, because there were definitely some moments where he kind of got pushed around in the run game, which, you don't like to see. He was going up against Darnell Washington, which, to be realistic, even Devin McCourty said it about Stephon Gilmore. He's like, Gilly in the regular season, he's not taking on a pulling tackle or anything like that. Like, he's not really going to he's paid a lot of money. Like, you don't want him going down because he tried to cut some guy. But when the playoffs came around, that's when you saw, and you remember, because there are plenty of plays where Gilmore was an impactful run defender. Usually they were more towards the end of the season when the games really mattered. And as a cornerback, you don't like to acknowledge it, but you kind of weigh, and Gonzalez is well proportioned, but he still needs to add a bit more to his frame. So you understand why he's not trying to stick his nose in the mud all the time. But like I said with Gilly, where when he needed to make the play, he did. When you saw Gonzalez in the area of a run and he had to get off a block, he consistently did. So I think some of the toughness stuff is overblown. I think maybe some physicality and receivers who know how to use their size might be able to get some grabs on him, but he's always going to be in the area. And I think with their coaching staff, they can put him in position where he's not just in position to make plays. He can actually find the ball and then make those plays, be it pass breakups, turnovers, just making sure that the receiver doesn't catch the ball.
Yeah, and I'll take over for a little bit for you while you go get while you get a situation. Yes, Taylor be right back with us. Yeah, I really think that the Christian Gonzalez pick, what's going to be interesting to me is I want to see who's going to be that number 2 corner. Would it be Jack Jones? I don't like Marcus Jones being at the number 2 corner because we seen last year against the Bengals in a couple of games, T. Higgins was just mossed him. And I know he's small, so I don't like it. I like Marcus Jones back in that slot. And then here comes another question. What do you do with Miles Bryant? Does Miles Bryant make the team? What about Jonathan Jones? Do we play him at safety, strong safety now, free safety, or do we have him as a number 2? So that's what I mean. We got to see where Jack Jones is on the field because he did get suspended last year. So we got to see where things. We already know, just being Patriot fans, and I'm sure Taylor, when you get back, he can attest to it. Like, when you get in trouble with the Patriots, it normally takes a while for you to come back on the team or whatnot and just regain where you started at. So I think Jack Jones, I think if he can make a year 2 lead, because we seen last year in spurts, the guy, he can play. Pretty good player, picked off, I won't not call him a lockdown corner. J.C. Jackson wasn't even a lockdown corner. He's not Stephon Gilmore, but I think he can be a really good number 2 corner if Christian Gonzalez lives up to the hype. I really believe that. But tell you what I was saying was Jack. Who do you think that number 2 corner opposite of Christian Gonzalez? Who do you think it's going to be? Will it be Jack? I don't like Marcus Jones. I like him more in the slot.
Why don't you? Okay, in the slot. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So I think it is going to be John Jones, just because I don't dislike Jack Jones. Obviously he's a playmaker, but you didn't see him sustain that playmaking ability throughout the season. I think a lot of people have like the Packers game stuck in their head, and he does have a good knack for identifying plays and being able to jump them. But when he doesn't have a good read on what it is, I just feel like he's too inconsistent, and especially because he doesn't have the physicality to stay in plays even when he misses reads. That's the kind of thing that worries me. Whereas Marcus Jones,
I want to say that the Detroit Lions game, my fault. I think he had a pick in that game. Yeah, he had a pick in that game.
He did, and that was one of his better games as well because he had some really, really tight coverage where I just based on alignment or whatever it was, he was very, very sticky. But again, when you think of midseason, later in the season, you don't really think of many plays that Jack Jones was making. Whereas Marcus Jones, obviously, you're thinking of him more on special teams and on offense, but he was also one of their better cover corners. And he was playing outside. He was pretty good against Devontae Adams when he lined up against him, although that wasn't a ton of snaps, to be totally fair. But, Devontae Adams is a guy where you think he's catching anything in the area if Marcus Jones is there. Marcus Jones had a great breakup on a deep post route early on in the game. So I think that Jones is still a very good cornerback. I think he was one of the league's better boundary corners when he wasn't facing top competition.
Like
because
Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson.
Exactly. Like Diggs was honest. I think Diggs, especially when they were wearing the red unis, that was just a flat out bad game from him, where I think technically like he wasn't watching the hips a lot, and it just wasn't a very John Jones-esque game where he's always there. His coverage is always tight and he's very smart. But yeah, he's still 5'9", 5'10". So you don't want him covering guys that are 6 feet. And that's what you saw.
That Bengals game scared me.
Yeah, they got really exposed, Marcus and John. So obviously that's where Christian helps you. But I think against most guys, John Jones is going to give you above average coverage, better than Jack Jones, I would say. And although I think John Jones is best in the slot, I think Marcus Jones gives you more in that role than Jack Jones gives you on the outside. So I definitely would kind of lean more towards Marcus Jones, but I'm excited to see if Jack can prove me wrong.
I'm gonna give you a name to look out for this year, and a lot of people probably think probably don't know he's on the team. He came on late last year. Quandre Mosley got some size. I believe he's like 6'2". I want to say he went to Kentucky or Memphis, one of those teams that wear blue. He went to one. I want to say Kentucky he went to, but I like what he did for us last year. I think he can be a really good player, and he brings the added dimension because we don't have a lot of corners with height besides now Christian Gonzalez. So I can't wait for the OTAs and training camp.
Absolutely. Now he is interesting. I've only seen his Chargers preseason tape. I do like that he's got versatility and size. That's obviously a great thing to have. Like, he got it in Sean Wade, but his execution isn't always great. I personally just don't, especially when Mosley played, I don't think he got targeted a ton. So I can't make any projections personally on what he's going to necessarily do in training camp, especially because I think it is going to be a really tough group to crack, especially with Amir's speed, just given his athleticism and size. He's more raw in coverage, but he's got all the tools. And then Isaiah Bolden, another guy, just big, long, fast, has all the potential in the world. So we'll see what the Patriots training staff, Mike Pellegrino, can do with those guys in terms of actual defensive snaps, although they're probably going to be good special teamers more than anything. But yeah, man, you got a really, really talented group of corners. That's definitely one of the groups to watch.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Bill O'Brien offense. Who do you think is going to be the biggest beneficiary from this offense this year?
I would say Mike Gesicki, because I think he gives you that matchup piece where, it's easy to say you look at the Patriots and it's, who do you game plan for? But you game plan for Mike Gesicki because he can line up outside. He can line up in the slot. Now, he can line up outside the numbers and inside the numbers, which can sometimes get confused a little bit because you say some guys are outside receivers, but they don't actually line up outside, like Edelman. When he was lining up outside, he was really more with a reduced split so he could get a two-way go. But Gesicki's got the size where he's not going to be the kind of X that's consistently like going downfield, but he can win on slants because he's just so big. And he's way too fast and explosive for linebackers. Now, Hunter Henry's in a similar mold. I just think Gesicki's a better athlete, has more flexibility, and puts more fear in the defense in terms of, okay, where is this guy? We have to find him. And also, people like to say that Gesicki, he's just a slot receiver. He doesn't like to block. Well, if you consider him a slot receiver, he is a 250-pound slot receiver.
Right.
So you can put a nickel on him if you want. But, exactly. Yeah, he may not be a great blocker against defensive end, but he'll probably bury a slot corner. So I really like his versatility, what he can bring to the offense. Although, there's so many, I would say, there's a lot of reliable veterans like Juju, Devontae when he's healthy. You got Kendrick Bourne. I wouldn't say he's reliable, but he's talented and someone that you'd like to see take a step forward. But when you talk about someone who could keep a defense up at night in some capacity, I think it's Gesicki, especially with all those empty packages that Bill O'Brien likes to run. Because with those three roles inside where it's a lot of mismatches, he can line up at any single one of them. So I really do think that he's going to be one of the bigger beneficiaries because he's proven, he's been able to show that he's a versatile player. And, he was also recruited by Bill O'Brien, so I don't think that hurts.
Yeah, that's real. I completely agree with you there. With the two rookies we drafted in the later round, Kayshon Boutte and Demarai Douglas, if those two guys pan out and they look good in OTA, and you got to do it in OTAs, training camp, preseason, if they can do it, can you see a scenario where both of those make the team and maybe it bump one of the veterans off, like a Devontae Parker or Kendrick Bourne, or maybe even both?
Absolutely. Because one, you're saving money. and you're getting youth. So I think it's a pretty easy decision if those guys do perform well, especially with Kendrick Bourne on the last year of his contract. You know, if it was still a 2-year situation, that'd be one thing where you're saying, all right, like, is this young guy, like, how quickly is he going to develop? You know, we got this guy, and Kendrick Bourne is around for good money. I do think that cutting Devontae Parker would clear up a good amount of money, although I don't like that idea because I don't think
when he's on the field, he's good.
exactly.
But, it's just that's why Miami got rid. He was supposed to be their number one receiver years ago.
Yeah,
and
but
he just turned 31. Yeah, can't stay healthy, and he's 31, 30 or 31 now. So.
Yeah, and I know cutting him would save a lot of money, but I also just don't know what you do about X. I think you could do a rotation where, based on whatever the formation is, you have different guys lined up there who can do different things. But yeah, I think it'd probably be someone like Kendrick Bourne. I think Demario Douglas has the best shot. One, from a character perspective, like people, like apparently he is fantastic. He's a student of the game. He works super hard. He wants to get better. All those things. You know, he's undersized, but he's a really good route runner. He had a limited route tree at Liberty, but you could see all the potential was there. You get the head fakes, you get the hesitation in his routes where he understands how to get open. The Patriots put him at that number 3 spot where they used to put Edelman and Welker. Bill O'Brien did specifically, and he performed so well that he didn't even play in the game because they were like, we get it. We like what we saw from you in the week of Shrine practices. We don't need to see anymore.
My buddy Evan Lazar calls him Day 3 Zay.
Day 3 Zay. That's literally what he is. I kind of like bump it down a little bit to like he's a poor man's Josh Downs because I think they're similar where they're like Zay, I think plays much bigger and can overcome his size more than I feel like Downs and Douglas can. I think they're like legitimately small dudes, but they're tough. But even more than that, in the Patriots system, I think even if they just use him as an underneath guy, he gives you the separation ability that you got from Amendola and Edelman. Although it's significant, he is smaller. So I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out because everyone thinks of all these undersized slot guys, but they're usually pretty thick. Like Welker was a pretty built dude. Amendola built. Edelman obviously is jacked. And Douglas is a little bit on the not only just shorter, but also a little bit slimmer. So, we'll see how that translates to the NFL level. But he's got all the tools where I think he's not only going to make the team, I think he's going to be someone who contributes faster than people think. And Boutte, we know he has a talent. He was supposed to be a first-round receiver in this class. That's really just down to whether he can truly buy in, change his perspective, and just
mentally and physically.
And if he gets healthier also, because the ankle obviously hurt him at the combine and also just helped tank his stock. So, I mean, he's a guy that really could be one of their like 1A, 1B types, I think, with Thornton down the road where
that's what I was about to go. I'm glad you mentioned Thornton. I was about to say maybe we get a year 2 lead from Tyquan Thornton.
I think he kind of have to. He's a second-round pick. So maybe you hope at least this year he becomes like a really good number 2 at the very least. But you're hoping he becomes – I don't think Jacoby Myers, they're not built the same way. They don't have the same skill set. Like, I'm not sure how much of Jacoby's route tree he's going to execute. But I do think that when you look at how Bill O'Brien used Will Fuller, where he understood how to use Fuller's speed, Mac Jones has the accuracy. He had his speedsters in college. Like, I think – Thornton, maybe the Patriots thought of as like Devontae Smith light, where he's skinny, but he's fast. And, not it's apples to oranges a bit with skill set because they're fast, but they don't play the exact same way. But, you want to use Tyquan Thornton's speed any way you can. And I think Mac can be able to do that. So, you hope for the second-year leap. And if you do see that, and if you even see minor contributions or, manageable contributions from Douglas and Boutte, I think that's a really exciting young core of guys that's complemented by Juju and then by Devontae Parker.
All right, Ted, I really appreciate that. Got a couple more things that we're gonna let you go, Sally. But hey, man, this been fun, man. I love it, man. Hey, I like your tweets. As I said before, you got it here. You know what you're talking about, X and O's, not just Patriots, but just football in general, man. So it's been great talking with you, man. OTA stand. Give me an OTA standout. Remember last year was Trey Nixon. We didn't see it in the regular season. It didn't come up in the preseason. He made a couple of nice catches in the preseason. Give me your OTA standout. My OTA standout, I think it has to be like a Tyquan Thornton. I think it has to be him. I mean, non-padded practices. Defense ain't really going that hard. Like it's built for the offense. So I'm going Tyquan or maybe Demario Douglas, one of the receivers.
I was going to say one of them. Now I feel like I got to go with somebody else. That's so tough. You know what? You didn't explicitly say Demario Douglas. You just kind of mentioned him at the end. So I'm going to go Demario Douglas. Just because you say, like, it's not padded. So the guys who aren't necessarily the most physical, but are fast and explosive, like, who are those going to be? Obviously, Demario Douglas. I just think his quickness and his twitch, they don't have. Like, Thornton, I think, for his size, is definitely has that quickness that you want. But DeMario is just like, he's got that jitterbug kind of thing. Like, I don't want to say necessarily like a Tyreek Hill, but it's similar where he's a small guy where it's, you say, okay, get your hands on him and it'll throw him off. But like, can you get your hands on him? He's
Right.
very elusive. So I think he's going to be the kind of, and it's tracking downfield, especially. I feel like if Mac throws in some deep balls and these defenders can't really make contact, it's going to be hard for them to keep up. So you said Tyquan Thornton's. I'm going to go with Mario Douglas. I think we're going to have some explosive plays from the receivers before the pads come on. Then we'll see.
2023 NFL season prediction for the Patriots. When the schedule came out last month or whatnot, I said, a few weeks ago when it came out, I said the Patriots, I said their floor would be about 8 or 9 games with their ceiling. I can see them winning 10 or 11 games. And there's always some games in there that you didn't think they'd win, but they win. And there's always some games in there that you thought they would blow the team out. Then something crazy happened like last year with the Bears. Absolutely. Nobody thought we were gonna lose that game. So I'm gonna go with my. I think they can win 10 games. I'm gonna go 10, 11 wins. Where you gonna go?
I'll go 11 or 12. And in my predictions, the 12 for me was them beating the Chiefs, which I know sounds insane. And to be fair, it was my kind of homer pick. I was like, I'm going to give myself one game where people can roast me and it's completely fair, but I'm just going to say, I think they could win this because it's a home game. Also, one thing that people forget is that I keep saying this, I parrot this everywhere I go just because I'm trying to spread the gospel. But in every game that Belichick has played Mahomes, for at least one half, Mahomes has not thrown a touchdown. And that's pretty significant. It's not like it's a 1-game fluke, 2-game.
And we could have won that game a couple of years ago when Cam was playing. I think if Stidham. No,
it was Hoyer and Stidham were in that game, and the Patriots took the Chiefs down. I think until they were in until the fourth quarter, until the wheels fell off. So that was the Belichick is pretty good at matching up because what he does is what he does against all the great quarterbacks. It's as much man coverage as you can play, and you try to get the one-on-one matchups in the front and just make it where Mahomes is going to beat you by himself, but be at the catch point and get him under pressure and make everybody else around him win the game as well. So I think that's a winnable game for them that kind of would be the ceiling where you're like, okay, this is a team you have to take seriously because they can at least contend with the Super Bowl champions. And then besides that, I really do think that although there's going to be some bumps, I think they're going to get swept by the Bills. I've said that. I think they're going to split every game.
We're going to get one from Buffalo this year. I don't know. I think we're going to get one. I think we're going to get one.
I hope so, man. I really hope so. But honestly, I'm thinking of the game last year. Even when they were in Gillette, the game seemed close. It was not close. When the Bills were really fighting, it was very much their game. Yeah. And then once they were comfortable, you started to see the Patriots make a couple plays. But it never felt like the Bills were worried or anything like that. I think the Patriots in their last game against the Bills with Mac Jones have been competitive. Mac had one of his best games of his entire career in that wild card game. But obviously the defense couldn't stop Josh Allen to save their lives. So it just made it look like he didn't do very well. But he started that game pretty hot. There was the one interception to Aguilar where you could also put plenty of that on Aguilar for not being more aggressive to get the ball. And then, like you said, last year, Mac had one of his better games of the season when the chips were on the line. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to pull one off against Buffalo, but I just can't, in good conscience, say they're going to win when they haven't beaten Buffalo in years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How you think that matchup on week 1 against the Eagles?
I think they lose. I just think that's so much to ask for the first game of the season. And it's not like the Eagles are a team that got gutted. Yes, they lost Javon Hargrave, which is big for them. But they retained a lot of their players. They're still very talented. They added some. They have all of Georgia's playmakers from the past 2 seasons. I don't know how much impact they're going to have week 1, but that's a talented team in the trenches. They also have great receivers, a good run game, a really talented dual threat quarterback. On paper, it's a fun litmus test to see where the Patriots are in their fundamentals because you're not going to face a team really as talented in terms of not just, we can throw it all over the yard, but we can also run it on you and then we can do anything we want. They're just so formidable. So it's going to be a really good test. And I like the fact that we getting them week. I like the fact we getting them week 1 though. I think it's good we get them week 1 rather than wait till the middle of the year where they already meshed with all those new pieces. Yeah. And the Eagles, people forgetting they got a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. They're not familiar with Bill O'Brien's scheme, so maybe we can catch them off guard. Brady would be there. I actually had us upset and Philly win that. I think we're gonna win that one.
I think we're gonna get that week 1.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I was trying to, because you know me, I'm an optimist, and I always try to like look at, okay, if they can realistically do it, I will. That was just one of those where I'm like, I can't say they're gonna win, because I feel like I'm letting my homerism win, because that's such a great football team, and this is a team that's picking up the pieces on offense and obviously like defense and special teams. If they win, that's going to be why. And I think it's going to come down to, and I think what's going to happen a lot in the season, because they have such a great schedule in terms of competition. It's not great for the players. You know, I think there was some report that they weren't super happy. I don't know how valid that is, right? But at the end of the day, like if you're a football fan, do you want to watch the Patriots play a bunch of bad teams, or do you want to watch them go up against the best with a legitimate team around them and see what they've got? So I'm looking forward to the schedule. I really think it's going to come down to the defense is going to keep them in all these games. The special teams is going to make enough plays as well.
Offense going to have to give you they got to be, I think, at least average. At least got to be better than what they were last year. They got to.
I think it's literally like, if you give the offense the ball at the end of the game, can Mac just get them down the field, get that field goal, get that touchdown? If he can close out games, that's where I really do think this is an 11+ win team, where it's going to be a dogfight, but that defense is so good. And the special teams is where you say, okay, like you're going to expect the offense to either be pinned consistently, or there's going to be a big turnover or some big play from special teams where, you know, like when you play all these great teams like Brady, Mahomes, it always comes down to some special teams play that may or may not change the momentum for one side or the other. And like you said, the offense just don't screw it up. Move the ball down the field, control it, and when you get to the red zone, throw it to Gesicki, throw it to Hunter Henry, run it in with Ramondre Stevenson. Just find, and that's the thing. They have, I think, red zone threats and Juju, a coordinator who can actually, Juju, you got those big guys, and you can actually use them in the red zone, whereas last year, everyone thought that Hunter Henry, like, disappeared off the face of the earth. They didn't throw to him. It was bizarre watching how he was one of their most talented receivers, and they just thought he didn't exist when they would get into scoring territory after he was going off on an almost weekly basis when he and Mac were really cooking the rookie year before Hunter got hurt. So, I think the offense can do its job enough that I'm not going to say they're going to light up scoreboards, but I think they can at least go toe-to-toe with these teams because the other phases are so good.
And I can't believe we don't talk 30 minutes and I have not mentioned the hot topic right now. Do you think, real quick, the Patriots will sign DeAndre Hopkins?
No.
Just had to admit, a lot of people talking about they want to be a very bad news, but
I mean, I don't think he'd be that interested unless they threw money at him. And if they really wanted a receiver that badly, they would have drafted one earlier than the 6th round. So I just don't think it's realistic. I like Hop. I respect Hop. I think he's still a very good player, but if he was on the team, I'm not going to act like it wouldn't make a difference. It would make a difference, absolutely. He's a proven, commodity.
I think we'll be slower though because D-Hop. I mean, somebody got to go. Who's going to be the somebody?
That's what I'm saying. It's Juju and DeAndre Hopkins are not the same player, but their skill sets are similar. So then you put DeAndre Hopkins in for the situations you use Juju. But Juju just got signed to, what was it, 3-year deal? So, what are you doing with Juju? It would create a weird situation where unless, the only talent receiving-wise I could see them bringing in as real competition, it would have to be someone who's I'm here and I'm walking in as the focal point. But besides that, I just don't see them throwing money at a short-term solution that's not even that great of a solution for the bigger problem that they face.
Real good, man. Taylor, I appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on. I love your take. I love your insight. You know your ball, man. You know your Patriots ball, just your NFL ball, man. I love your knowledge, man. I appreciate it, man. I really do, man. Real quick, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, first of all, Ken, again, thank you so much. This has been a delight. I had a lot of fun. So you can find me on Twitter. Name's right there at tkyles39. On CLNS Media. If you look at our football content, you can find me on a lot of those. I'm going to have a lot of stuff coming out this week. Again, the move has been tough. Last week, I was off the grid, but I got some stuff coming. So stay tuned. And once again, Ken, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
There you go. You have it, man. I appreciate it, man. Like I always say, everybody's tuning in right now. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're going to tune in later on, it's still going to be up. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Go back and forth with me and Taylor. Let us know what you think about our predictions, season predictions, and all that. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Go Pats.